Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, we get to speak with Sonny Tannan, an author, international speaker, and a content marketing creator. He's created some amazing connections, and I've learned so much from him, and I decided why not bring him on and have a chat with him. So Sonny, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
I'm doing wonderful. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure, and looking forward to our conversation today. So thank you for the kind introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I've noticed that you recently launched an amazing new book. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So launch is a wonderful word. The official book release date is March 5th of this year, so 2019.
Nice.
But we have been doing what is just, I guess, like a soft launch, or just getting the books into the hands of family and friends, or folks that just wanted to get kind of an early look at the book before it goes live on Amazon and Indigo and a few other websites. But the book is called Through the Eyes of Om. And for those of you that have seen my videos with Om on LinkedIn, you're probably familiar with the concept. And if you haven't, I'll just give a quick little introduction. So Through the Eyes of Om, we started creating LinkedIn videos a little over a year ago. And I was lucky enough to be able to incorporate my 3-year-old. He's 3 now, but my 3-year-old. And from day one, it was kind of myself leading the charge and putting out the content and the messaging. And those of you that have kind of followed along for the last year or so, Om is starting to really show his personality off and take over some of the videos, and definitely become a lot more articulate with sharing his thoughts on camera.
Yeah.
And so Through the Eyes of Om was meant to always be a series of a dad and a son, so myself and Om, looking at life through the lens and through the perspective of Om. And so everything that we share, if it's professional, personal, if it's stories, if it's things that we're observing, if it's anything around travels or adventure that we take together, everything is created as if we're looking at it through the eyes of.
Very nice.
So the book is the physical copy, if you will, of those videos. We had enough people that said, well, gosh, have you ever thought about writing a book? And if you had asked me that question a year ago, the answer would have been probably not. So the book is really just a culmination of taking these adventures of Om traveling around the world. He's 3, he's been to 8 countries so far.
Wow.
And this first book is about the very first country he visited, which is Malaysia. And so Through the Eyes of Om is about experiencing life and the world through the unique perspective of a child. And so this children's book, the very first one, is about our trip to Malaysia.
That is so cool. I mean, having a children's book and your son totally involved in it, it's just any parent's dream come true, right?
I'd like to think so. And it's been a lot of fun for me because it's made me be a lot more aware of both how I speak, how I act, how I interact. So I hope it's made me a better parent, a better husband, a better, son to my own parents and Om's grandparents, better brother. So it's really helped me to become just not even simpler, if you will, but to make sure that I'm presenting and sharing things as easily as I would with my own son.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. I really look up to you on that front. It's really cool because about a year ago, I was like, hey, I want to do a children's book. And, I've got 3 kids myself. And I was like, this would be pretty awesome if you were able to, bring something to the world that's teaching them a moral foundation and, being responsible, being, good, contributing human beings in this world.
I love it. So what's stopping you from writing a book?
It's not that anything's stopping me from writing the book. I've got way too many books coming out of me right now. I've so for the children's book, I've actually helped one friend of mine because I don't have a story yet for a children's book to come up with, and I would like my wife's help in coming up with the stories, and of course my kids. And then it's just been very, very busy days and weekends. Last year we've had at least 6 weddings, and like, okay, where do you find the time? Then my youngest was barely a year old. She just turned a year old a couple days ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. I had started a podcast and I was getting involved with LinkedIn Locals and doing videos. So there's a lot of things going on. And
Absolutely. Well, I love the idea that you even have the thought of doing it. I think that's great, wanting to get your wife involved.
yeah,
And if there's anything I can do to help, it's amazing that I've had more people reach out to me to say, "Oh, I've either got a book or I'm thinking about this."
yeah,
And I mean, it's just amazing for me to be able to now be a part of that support network for them. I've had people say, "Well, would you consider, co-authoring a book with us?"
mhm,
And would Own be interested? And I said, the answers to all those questions are absolutely. I mean, we're always open to especially having conversations with people that we like, such as yourself.
yeah.
That's the best part about this, is that I get to work with people that are fun, and people that I want to surround myself with. And so if there's anything myself and Om can do to help you to bring that book to life, don't hesitate to ask. We're always we're here to support you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Uh,
You got it.
that's amazing. All right. So we've got the book down, and tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the place that you are today? I mean, obviously you didn't just start with the book. There's a lot more of Sonny that we haven't heard of. So tell me it all started.
So where it all started, from a professional sense, a personal sense, can you
Personal,
give me a little?
personal as a human being. How were you raised, and what did your parents taught you, and all those things. No,
Sure. So
we don't have that much time, but you
yeah,
decided where you want to start
absolutely.
from. Yeah.
Sure. So you want to hear a little bit about the personal story? Got it. So I was not born in this country. I was born in India.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm an immigrant by trade,
Same here.
and and both my parents moved to the States in the late '70s, and I've spent my majority of my adult life growing up in the United States, all over the country. So I've grown up in the South, the West, the East, the Northwest, the Southwest.
Mhm.
And so every probably like 4 or 5 years, I've had the pleasure of moving and experiencing a different, honestly, culture just inside, within the borders of the United States itself.
Yeah.
And then as I went to university and college, I managed to live overseas for a few years as well. And so I think that my personality and my love of travel is something that I've clearly shared with and I'm lucky because my wife has the same love of travel, and she grew up overseas as well. And so she's explored most of like Europe and the Asias, and I had the pleasure of exploring most of like the Central Americas, the South Americas, and um, parts of Europe.
Wow.
And so it's interesting because, I think if you had to say, well, a little bit about me, is that family and travel are so ingrained in my blood that the people that tend to gravitate or to we learn the most from are people that happen to be like that as well. Now, that being said, we have good friends of ours that have never left, their home city or their home state. And, they don't share that same love of travel, but we share other loves with them, if it's, foods or wines or, experiences or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, so if I had to share the biggest thing about me is that I think that I like to surround myself with people that come from a variety of backgrounds. And by that, I mean, it could be somebody that's just getting started in their own career. So very passionate about education and, and the youth of the world, and helping them, because most of them have some really just super creative ideas on how to address both common things as well as really big things that are out here. So very passionate about that, especially now being a dad,
Mhm.
to see children, succeed and to be given experience or support to enable them to go out there and chase, their big dreams. And I think that the best part about it is, and Ohm demonstrates this to me all the time.
Yeah.
As you become an adult, you start to look at things and you say, well, that's probably not possible, or that might be difficult. And, as children, I don't know how it was for you, but, for me as a child, I was invincible. I could do anything. And so I think taking that kind of mindset to say almost anything is possible, just giving some shape to it and helping to guide, the youth of today, that's probably one of the biggest things for me. And I think, our hashtag, Ohm and mine is fans of three. And so, the three biggest things that always try to wrap every idea or project or conversation around is, number one, focus, number two, collaboration, and number three, inspiration.
Yeah.
And so, for me, if, you ever walked away with anything, it's those three things for me. I try to approach whatever it might be, if it's, playing a sport, if it's, writing a book, if it's trying to launch a business, if it's just having a conversation with people, I try to approach it with those three things in mind, so the focus, the collaboration, and inspiration, because to me, that's just the best way for me to explore and to discover life.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. I love that concept. It's really, really good.
So that's kind of like the mindset of mine. Now, I grew up around the country, and once again, I wasn't born in the United States, but my background is I'm a veteran, so I joined the United States Marine Corps to give back and serve my country.
Nice.
If you looked on our resume, my traditional business experience is almost exclusively business development, which is a combination of sales and marketing, and both with profit, nonprofit companies, startup companies, and community has always been so important in everything that I've done as well. So I do spend time philanthropically serving on boards and serving the nonprofit that I helped to co-found, as well as other people that are trying to just do good and leave this world in a better place than when we found it. So that's a little bit about me. And if I had to say one thing is central to all of that, it's always all about family for me.
It is, yeah. That's true, because families is what makes us who we are, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. I love the story. So, one question: what is one hobby that you wish you got into?
One hobby that I wish I got into. So I'm going to take this one from a movie I was just watching the other day, actually. I was watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. So if so if people don't know what I'm about to say now, I'll just give you a little bit of perspective. So I wish I could have been, a dashing adventurer, explorer that has this love for archaeology and, just goes on these digs and can make these awesome movies and, fight bad guys and win at the end. No, I'm just kidding. So the hobby, I think it would have been really cool to have been like an archaeologist, like to explore things and to uncover things and to discover things, just to see what people before us, had done, and just to kind of relish the amazing contributions, if you will, of human beings, right? Regardless of what they are. And I think people that will discover things that we do many, thousands of years from now will I would hope, would say the same thing. Like, gosh, like they were, beyond their time, or they did certain things, and just kind of be amazed at what people are capable of. So I think an archaeologist would have been a really cool hobby.
Nice. That's a good one. The Raiders of the Lost Ark or Indiana Jones have been mentioned twice today, so that's happy.
Great. Netflix is doing a good job bringing them up to
They are.
the forefront.
So next question is, I don't know if this answers your question. What is one of your favorite movie or TV show?
Ooh, that's a good question. So do you want movie or do you want the TV show? Or do you want both?
It's your pick.
Awesome. So I think one of my favorite movies is Tron, the remake version. So I love the original one, but I'm particularly a fan of Tron because once again, it just the imagination and the creativity of putting something like that out there, and having the concept of and I actually, it amazes me because you look at what's happening now around AI,
Oh my God.
and just how fast technology is evolving. And that movie came out, I think it was originally like in the 70s or the 80s.
Hmm.
And so I absolutely love that movie because of the experience of it. And also just, it's not a complicated movie. Like they just developed the characters really well. So
Yeah.
I love Tron as a movie. And a TV show, gosh, that's a really tough one because I've got a couple that I love to go back to, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily my favorites. But one that
Categories or genre.
yeah, yeah. So absolutely right. So they're different categories because I mean, if you said, hey, what's like an awesome cartoon that you saw growing up? I mean, gosh, it would be like Transformers or on the humor side, Animaniacs. Just
Yes.
because there's just so much laughter in that and really cool learning lessons that come out of that. Yeah, gosh, I'll stick with those two. I'll say Transformers and Animaniacs, just you to because I'm pretty sure that's what would say right now. He would say something like that, like Rescue Bots,
Rescue Bot.
Transformers, because they're helping people
Yeah.
and they're doing good and they're working side by side with humans. So I'll go Transformers, Rescue
Right.
Bots.
That's right. No, Rescue Bots is one of my kids' favorite as well. I think recently my son he's found this other TV show on Netflix called Miraculous
Okay,
out in France, and these two kids
cool.
they have superpowers and secret identities, and they help people.
It's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Well, those are really cool answers for TV show and movie. Tron. So the new remake Tron has a really awesome soundtrack. Like every
Yeah, it
while,
does.
I'll just pop in the soundtrack because Daft Punk has done an amazing job with it.
They sure have. They definitely did a wonderful job with that entire soundtrack.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, where can people find you, and what's your plan for the next 6 months?
Great question. So in terms of social media, I spend quite a bit of time on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You can just Google my name, Sonny Tannan, Sonny, Tannan, Tannan. So I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and interestingly enough, you can now find also Eyes of Ohm, all three of those social media sites. I would keep an eye out for YouTube because we may be creating a video series
Nice.
in the next couple of years here.
Mhm.
And what are my plans for the next 6 months? So the book launches in March, so that's in a couple months now,
Mhm.
and probably for the next 6 months, we'll be going for book signing events, book tours. We actually haven't officially announced it yet, but we may be trying to do something in Texas as well as Seattle, Washington, so the Pacific Northwest area. And then in the middle of the year, we may be actually hopping overseas to either Europe or potentially Asia to do another speaking event and or book signings there.
Very.
So the book launch is definitely important to us. And then in the next 6 months, if you haven't been keeping up on LinkedIn for us,
Mhm.
our fingers are all crossed. The Unlearned Show is probably going to be launching season 3
Nice.
on LinkedIn, and I've got 5 absolutely awesome co-hosts that we've all kind of come back together and decided that we think we're ready to launch season 3, and we'll be approaching it from a little bit of a different angle. So be on the watch out for that.
Yeah, I've been.
And I'm fans of 3, so I'll give you a third one.
Yes.
So the third one is kind of a fun one.
Mhm.
So you asked a question about hobbies. I've actually recently picked up a sport called pickleball.
Pickleball.
And
Okay.
pickleball, yeah, if you've never heard of it,
Mhm.
it's kind of like a shortened version of tennis. It can be played indoor and outdoor.
Okay.
You have special paddles and in essence a wiffle ball that you play.
Mm.
And so I recently went to a workshop so I used to coach tennis in my younger days.
Mhm.
So I'm actually now a certified coach for pickleball. And so here in Howard County,
Nice.
they have quite a great deal of engagement and interest and a lot of players that are growing this sport. I think pickleballers say it's the fastest growing sport in
Wow.
America, but it's a wonderful sport. It's a great sport for all ages. So we see kids all the way up to retirees playing, and
Mhm.
it can be a beginner's level and it can be up to elite and national level players that play around the country and around the globe.
Nice.
So, the third thing for me is I'm picking up some pickleball to make sure that I get out and I enjoy a sport and enjoy the social aspect of the sport. And have some fun while I'm out there doing it, trying something new.
That is really awesome. I love it. I'll have to look this pickleball up and see what it's all
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Check it out.
Yeah. Cool, man. This is really, really awesome. Yeah, I've been following you guys, and I put my name down for Unlearn show, see if I get picked.
Awesome.
Some cool people that should be brought onto the show, because I think that's a really cool show. I love it.
I'm glad you put your name in the hat, because I mean, if you didn't, how would you ever know, right?
Exactly. You got to ask. And,
That's right.
I wanted to, and if you never ask, you never know. So that's what I did with asking you. It's like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And I think in 2 weeks from now, I get to speak with Mark Metry, and
Awesome.
I'm super excited. It's like, dude, this guy is making waves, and he's only 21 years old.
Mark is crushing it. And if you've never talked with him, you would have, and this is with all the absolute just admiration and respect for Mark.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of people I've now met on LinkedIn that you talk with them and they are wise beyond their years. Mm-hmm. Mark is definitely one of those people, and he carries himself just, so well. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. So please tell him I said hello. And if you haven't talked with him yet, you guys are going to have a wonderful conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sonny. It was really awesome catching up with you again, and glad that you made it on the podcast. Anytime you want to come back and talk some more about the book learning process and anything at all, you're welcome.
Awesome. I appreciate that open invitation. And more importantly, we aren't more than an hour away. So at some point, we're going to have to arrange something and get together and hang out properly in person.
Absolutely. This was awesome. Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.